Dick the Butcher's call for a grisly end for the English lawyer in Shakespeare's Henry VI Part 2 comes as rebels discuss their vision of a new utopia. Cheaper bread and an end to weak beer are among the features of this promised land, but it is the plotters' plans for the demise of those pesky lawyers that most tickled audiences in Shakespeare's time. Such humour is a comedic staple that endures to this day. And another great English writer, Charles Dickens, infamously had one of his characters denounce the law as an ass. It's fair to say that today there are many who would echo the sentiments of Mr. Bumble in Oliver Twist. Complaints to the legal ombudsman for England and Wales have been in the region of 80 to 90,000 per year since its launch in 2010. Study its latest figures to the end of last year, and you'll see thousands of complainants are angry about the cost of legal services, the failure of their lawyer to offer advice, or even follow instructions. And given that the Solicitor's Regulatory Authority has said the most common response of those nursing a grievance about their legal services is to do nothing, this could just be the tip of an iceberg of public discontent. Most lawyers themselves would likely have sympathy with several of the complaints most often made by the public, like calls for legal jargon to be kept to a minimum, or greater transparency about how firms arrive at their costs. But beyond specific gripes, a general, and unflattering, perception of lawyers has taken root in many minds. They're fundamentally dishonest, the theory goes, despite only 0.14% of complaints fielded by the Ombudsman last year being for alleged criminality. And they're supposedly rich and obnoxious with it. That's despite a respected report on legal salaries published in 2012, finding wages flat for the past 2 years and bonuses a remnant of the past. It found that outside of London, a lawyer starting on a legal career may have to be happy with a salary of £28,000, so maybe not time to be ordering the private jet just yet. 400 years may separate the jibes lobbed at lawyers from the stage of Shakespeare's Globe Theatre and those swapped today on social networks, but their general thrust is much the same. As such, it is tempting to think that the public negativity about lawyers simply pursues the legal profession as a constant background hum. But alas, the chances are that the volume of this disapproval will only get louder in the decade ahead. The Legal Aid, Sentencing and Punishment of Offenders Act 2012 is set to come into force on April 1st this year. With it will come large cuts to the provision of legal aid, with public funding set to disappear for most civil cases involving divorce, employment, housing, education, and a host of other critical legal fields. Earlier this month, Britain's most senior judge said he feared the cuts would mean people perceive they have no access to justice in certain cases and that they may take the law into their own hands. Roger Smith, the director of human rights campaign organisation Justice, calls the cuts to legal aid enormous. The risk is that the public has two of its most common criticisms of lawyers, that they occupy a rarefied strata of society and that their services are too expensive, further confirmed in the years ahead. Despite Justice Director Smith's fears that society will fragment if access to a lawyer is continually eroded, there are unlikely to be mobs on the streets looking to enact Dick the Butcher's advice anytime soon. But it is just possible that in the eyes of a substantial portion of the public, lawyers are the lead actors in changes that, in words uttered in another of Shakespeare's plays, seem to make the law a tyrant.